Hello, my name is Robyn, and I'm the tarot reader girl for Serona Tarot. I'm posting this message and I'm putting my face out there because I've had trouble uploading the videos. I've been inundated with problems with the internet, and trying to upload takes about 2 hours per reading, and I've done about half of them and they just won't upload. So the interesting thing about that is that basically I was kind of in 2 months whether to continue doing it for a number of reasons. One is the technical aspects. Is it just takes so much time to upload. If it was just a case of maybe doing it live, then maybe I could do it. I'm disappointed because I put a lot of work into it, but the thing that I wasn't quite kind of vibing with anymore was the fact that there was like a separateness with the zodiac signs. And even though I was really attracted to lots of sort of YouTube readings with the tarot readings for the zodiac signs for the month, yes, there is a collective general reading, but I'm starting to feel that it's a bit too separated, too segregated, and I was feeling more kind of drawn towards a pick a card readings, because I know instantly with myself, if I do them, if I watch them on YouTube, which I love, that I instantly, intuitively know which one to pick, and it's the right message that's been attracted to me and that comes to me. And with the zodiac sign, sometimes that can throw me off, and I've noticed more and more that it's been less resonant with me. So there's obviously that element of separateness between the zodiac signs. Of course, those are the Western zodiac signs, and you've got Chinese astrology, then you've got numerology. So I'm not liking this whole pigeon box thing, this whole labeling thing. Anyway, so I didn't really know what to do, and I thought, no, let me push on through, because people love it. And I mean, I don't have many subscribers because I haven't had this channel up very long. So I asked Spirit for myself, should I continue with these? And I got these two cards. The page of Page of Swords and the Eight of Cups. Okay, so immediately I knew, no, my time is done with the zodiac signs. So Page of Swords basically means that there's a delay in communications, some bad luck affecting it, and the Eight of Cups is walking away from something which no longer serves you emotionally, even though you have invested a lot of time and love and energy into it. So I take that as a confirmation, and therefore I'm putting myself out there because there's been other stuff that's been going on with me in terms of sort of a spiritual development, and I want to try maybe share some stuff with you, which I'm hoping is of aid, because that's why I've done these things. So I'll probably continue to do the pick card readings once in a while when there's something big that comes up, it feels like, and just be guided by spirit and my intuition and the kind of feelings around, because at least with those videos it's just quite quick to upload. But there are other things that I'm kind of interested in maybe trying out. One of them being this kind of chat about stuff, and being sort of not necessarily about me, but me as a reflection of you, and what's actually going on in the world and how we deal with certain things. My main intention always is healing, so anything that helps us to have a better understanding of where we're at within ourselves and within society and as a collective is very important to me. The other thing that I started doing about 3 months ago now, 3 or 4 months ago, is I've started channeling. So that was something that I was keeping kind of to myself because it's still considered quite taboo, and so maybe at some stage I would do a channeling session, or perhaps even try and teach people to channel, at least in terms of the way I do it and the way I have learned how to do it, because they guide me through it, they coach me through it, and channeling is something that everyone can do. If you don't know what channeling is, it can be very vast and it can be very specified. It's basically where you access source energy, or source energy being kind of infinite intelligence that's all around us, and whether that be through, you know, your higher self, your kind of guardian angels, your spirit guides, whether it's a alien, you know, species out there. It can be as such as going into a bit of a, on the extreme measure would be going into like a deep trance and letting them speak through you as a vehicle, okay, to give information and knowledge, with obviously the discernment of it being for the highest good, and with love and light, because there's also some tricky energies out there too. That's on the very one extreme. The other sort of extreme is if you find yourself, everyone channels to some degree, if you find yourself lost in painting, in making music, in writing or something, and it seems like time just disappears. Usually what's happening is you are accessing an energy frequency that is channeling through you, especially in moments of creativity and art as well. It also helps with, you know, you get scientists out there who come across sort of epiphanies, where you'll generally find that there will be either new inventions or new concepts that come in within the collective, and they're all sort of accessing in their own ways some, you know, the energy and the intelligent energy that's out there. For me, what I will, last year I had quite a few experiences which led me to the point that I'm at now. So maybe I'll just talk about that because, you know, why not? So the channeling that I'm doing now is sort of like a semi-trance, and then it's I speak through a collective. Well, there's about 12 of them that all speak as one, a social memory complex from a different planet. So yeah, basically I'm really nervous about being so open about all this stuff, because lots of people think it's freaky. However, if you've subscribed to this channel, it means that you are at the very least curious about you know, what sort of energies might be surrounding you to do with, you know, your life and your purpose, and with a particular interest in healing, because that's how I create all my stuff. That's the motivation and intention behind everything. So there would be an element of that, I would imagine, if you've subscribed. And then if you haven't subscribed and you come across this video, then hello. Then I believe that certain things are guided to you. I mean, apart from the fact that everything is manifested within ourselves and life is an illusion. All these things I really want to talk about. But this will come in, I believe that things come into your life that you know, intuitively attract, manifest. Sometimes it just happens by accident, which is the beauty of life. There are no coincidences. So yeah, that's a channeling I sort of do, and if you're interested in that, I might think I might just do a sort of session and sort of explaining what sort of actually happens, maybe how to get into a state to do it, and how to primarily discern about what's good and what's sort of not so great. So just sort of a little bit of a background about me. I was an actor for a long time. It's what I always wanted to do when I was 5 years old, and then I basically chose every direction. Every choice in my life was geared towards that. So for many years I was trying to do bits and bobs, and then I made a film which didn't do so well, and I put all my love and energy into it, and I'm 39 now, so that was like last year, the year before that. And anyway, so I had my sort of like little spiritual awakening type vibe, whereby I realized that there was an energy that was holding me back, and what that energy was self-inflicted. So I consciously made the effort to figure out what that energy was, why I was holding myself back, because you know, it was just trying, and it was and then that sort of started my sort of self-healing process. And as soon as I went down into that and started really looking at aspects of my life, really going really back into childhood, using, you know, initially people, you know, the motivational speakers like Tony Robbins, and and then it going a little bit deep into the more sort of spiritual realm. It sort of kick-started this journey that I'm on at the moment. Now, I've always been spiritual to a degree, and the tarot readings, I've been doing tarot for about 4 years now, maybe. And you learn how to do it and stuff like that, and then it was just through word of mouth that I get readings. I do readings now. So I've always been spiritual to a degree, but never really spoke about it because it's not, you know, growing up and stuff like that, it's not like cool to talk about these things. But now I don't give a shit because it is who I am completely. So so the whole of last year I went through a bit of a spiritual awakening, and I also want to do a video on what that is, or what that experience was for me, just in case there are things that you're going through, which may be helpful for you, because I couldn't talk to anyone about it, and I tried accessing as much information out there as I could to try and figure out what the hell was going on. And there were some amazing people out there, amazing resources, and YouTubers as well, which helped me to identify what was actually going on before I realized I was actually going completely and utterly mad. So that was really helpful. So the reason why I want to sort of talk about it too is that if someone is going through something similar, and if it just reaches one person and helps out one person, then it's worth it. Even to the degree, and even at the risk of doing a video like this, putting my face out there, and just bearing all, really, to the risk of ridicule. But I think I'm a bit beyond that now anyway, because you know, life is what you make of it. So so basically the bottom line is that it doesn't look like I'll be doing zodiac signs, even though I've done half of them for the month, and I wish I could put just half of them up, but that would be unfair to the rest. So I'll continue to do some pick of cards. Don't really know which way to go with this. So in terms of channeling, I might talk a little bit about that, and perhaps do a session to sort of kind of guide you through what sort of happens, and also to maybe to do with spiritual awakenings. There's lots of information out there, but actually no, I'll talk about that now quickly, because we're in the climate, obviously, with the COVID-19, and with social structures crumbling under this invisible, very intelligent little bug. It is causing a lot of people to have wake-up calls, should I say. So what it can create, I mean, on some with some people, it can be quite negatively orientated. If we just put aside for a moment, you know, the fear-based element with regards to people who have died, which is very sad, you know, but I don't want to get into that bit now. But there's a bit of a tipping point that happens, obviously, as a wake-up call. So either you can be negatively aspected, or it can go kind of one way, whereby you lose the will, you want to drink too much, you're just in front of the TV, you don't know what to do, or you're just kind of losing your wits. Or it can be a really positive thing of like, oh my God, I haven't had the time to spend to doing this, and I haven't been able to do that, and now I can really spend time to do this. So I see it as a wonderful opportunity, really. But even if you go down the route, it's basically it's everything that's amplified gets to that point, that climax where something's got to give. Okay, so often when people have a sort of a spiritual awakening, it can come from one of two sort of ways. One, it could be, bearing in mind this is all my own experience, as well as information that I've collated and researched and stuff over the past kind of couple of years. So If this resonates with you, that's very cool. If you totally disagree and you think I'm fucking nuts, that's also cool. And I love you. I'll send you on your way. But the spiritual awakening tends to happen one of two ways. One side is that it could be as a result of extreme suffering and pain, whereby something just like clicks in you of like, enough, okay? And then through that pain and through that suffering, there's like an aha moment. Now, this isn't necessarily enlightenment at all. Enlightenment is a whole different vibe. An awakening is basically, you'll know you've had an awakening. It's not, you know, people kind of go, oh yeah, I've had a spiritual awakening, blah, blah, blah. But the process of what kind of happens, it's so profound that you will know it, okay? So on one side, it could be through suffering, through immense suffering and pain and feeling completely and utterly separated. And on the other side, it could be on the flip side, not the flip side, but it could be something that you consciously drive to do and work towards, okay? So it could be something that already you're sort of aware of, your spiritual aspect, your higher journey and path in this world, your questioning of why we're here, why you are here, what is your purpose in life, all the rest of it, and then you graduate slowly through there. I think mine was probably that one, although with every, it really, I was consciously doing it as a result of pain, suffering. So what generally tends to happen, from what I've read and the things I've spoken to with other people, as well as my own personal experience, is that you tend to have this sort of aha moment, which can go on for a few weeks, you know, a number of weeks. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I know everything, but it can happen gradually. But there's a sort of a type of state of euphoria that comes with it, of this like, I get it, you know, and you start to see the world in a completely different way. And I should probably explain what I mean by a completely different way. It's like you start to observe people from a very different viewpoint, in terms of you lose that reaction. And I'm not saying you lose it forever. God, no. You get relapses and you have to kind of work at it. But I'm talking about that euphoric stage. You start to really see in people, oh wow, they're really triggered by this, and that's cool. And because they're learning, and they decide they need to learn that, and they've tracked that into, and they're gonna develop and grow as a result of it. And you start to see the workings of people's minds in a way, when you really start to observe, because you start to realize that nothing can really affect you as hard anymore. So that's like the euphoric initial honeymoon stage of a spiritual awakening, and you're kind of on a high, you know. You're like, yes, I live, and flowers, and you know, and I mean, I'm not like all flower power, but it's really profound. And then what happens usually after that sort of simmers down and plateaus to the state of like, okay, cool, and then you have to get on with your normal life as usual. Then you tend to go through what's called the dark night of the soul. Now you can Google this, there's lots of information about that. And the dark night of the soul sounds very ominous, and it is, okay? It's shit. It's absolutely shit. It's horrible, okay? And the reason why it's horrible is because what you have this initial high, and then you go to the depths of despair, and all that is, it's like, it's almost as if the spiritual high that you've had with that aha moment, that tipping point that happens with you, within you, somehow within you, you've made a decision to kind of go, okay, right, I'm starting to get it. Let's do this. Okay, let me try and understand this to a much deeper level. Let me just get down to the nitty-gritty of it. And the dark night of the soul is the nitty-gritty of it. What that is, it is the unearthing of all, well, let's call it the biggest core issues that have conditioned your life. And often this comes down right down to childhood. This comes down to how you were parented and the kind of karmic and the ancestors of this lineage that you've been on, and how parents have conditioned parents, versus on a kind of a global stage as well in terms of society. And you start to highlight and you start to see all these things, and you start to feel completely and utterly lost and swamped. So the pain comes in a number of ways, because these things come to the surface and you have no choice but to address them. And usually when you address them, it is as raw as it was then, but you feel completely at a loss of who you are. You completely lose your identity. So from my experience, I realized that acting was no longer resonating within me at all. Like when I was watching films, all I saw was power struggles and violence, and it no longer vibed with me. I couldn't, because all I see is ego, 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 ego. I see less compassion. I mean, obviously there's beautiful films out there, and I realized that I'd been striving for something. I was basically, one of the core issues for me was this element of rejection. I had chosen a whole career whereby rejection is the foundation. So what happens with the dark night of the soul is, when all this stuff comes to the surface, you have to kind of look at it. You have to really deal with it. But as a result, you have this major sense of loss, because not only have you become friends with your issues, right, and now you have to say goodbye because you have a wizened like view of it, but you so you're saying goodbye to your old friends who were toxic, right, but you also completely lose your identity, because you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, well now what do I believe? How do I cannot put my, if you identify yourself as a stereotype, or you identify yourself as a mother, I'm a mother with children, or I was going to say homographic, but I mean homosexual. I'm homosexual, and I work in fashion, right? And fashion is my all. Or I am, I've always been the geek. I'm the nerd. I know about technical stuff. I know that stuff, right? Or I'm the bookkeeper. You give yourself all these labels, and as soon as you have your dark night of the soul, all the labels go out the window, and all of a sudden you feel like completely lost, because you don't know how to identify with anything anymore. Okay? And then what happens as a result of that is you will be finding yourself walking in public. Now, obviously for many of us, walking in public with a lot of people around us is not really happening as much anymore because of, but you start to see the world in a completely different way, and it looks like it's almost as if everyone else is living in a dream. Okay, then what happens as a result of that is you literally do believe that you are going nuts, that you are going crazy, and if you spoke to anyone about this, they would put you in the mental insane asylum. Okay, because you're starting to see something from a whole different perspective that you have no clue about. You're complete, as in tarot, that would be the Fool. The Fool card, that brand new beginning. You've seen something, and it's like, but you have you completely in unknown territory, uncharted territory, and you don't know what to stick onto to sort of make you feel a bit safe. And so that's what the dark night of the soul is. So all this stuff is brimming to the surface, and you're starting to see stuff, but then at the same time you feel completely and utterly alienated and alone, and you can't talk to anyone because you in case you sound like insane, right? On another aspect of that, which is a lot of what happened to me, you experience lots of physical sensations. So your body is literally changing, and changing to the degree of internally, like down, right down to your DNA, okay? And that's also to do with like downloads and light activations and blah blah blah, which we cover at some point, right? But your consciousness, which you imagine as you hear by your head, your consciousness is every atom of your being, you know, over here, and then you've got your higher self, which is even larger, and all of that is changing through this awakening. So not only can you experience physical sensations like heart palpitations, breathing difficulties, but well, I'll explain what sort of stuff I experience, but not only is that happening, but because you're opening up now, you can be attracting all sorts of energies around you, okay? Particularly if you're an empath. And if you don't know what that is, Google it, look into it. We can talk about it more at another stage. But I am an empath, which means I take on lots of energy from everybody else. So I really feel it. And that's also why I suppose I was inactive for a long time. Also, the channeling is also why I was inactive for a long time, because I was just channeling characters, you know. But anyway, so without me losing track, the sensations when you open yourself out and you have this broader consciousness, especially when you go through the dark night of the soul, you may basically, if you imagine you've set alight this grand big beam of light, you know, around your body, your aura, and it's almost as if all the energies around are now attracting to it like moths to a flame. You always know that when you've got, you know, happy, cheerful, woo people around you, they usually, people gravitate towards them, you know. And what can happen is, as a result of that, is they get drained of their energy, you know. Energy vampires will come and drain them. So what happens is you completely open yourself up, and you then need to learn how to protect yourself so that you can still have the compassion, still be open to all the energies, but be very careful about what energies are penetrating your sphere, okay? Because as soon as you open yourself up even more, that's when you are like the flame, and all the moths come, and you don't want all the moths to come, okay? You want some butterflies too. So that sort of kind of happens, and then you have to learn how to protect yourself, and then the so-called dark night of the soul can actually happen for over a period of years. I mean, this can it can be months, it could be a very short period of time, but usually you kind of don't really go through, and sometimes it could be a lifetime, I'd imagine. I mean, we never stop really healing because we never stop expanding and growing and learning. So these things always come through, you know, but we just go a little stage higher, a little stage higher, a little stage higher, and not in a hierarchical sense, but just, it's just wisdom, knowledge, experience, which is what we're on this planet to do. Evolve. That's it. It's all about evolution. So this is sort of happening on a grand scale at the moment, and particularly, I mean, apparently it happened in 2012. I wasn't really that in tune to all of that stuff, but there's lots of writings to say that there was a major sort of upgrade. And with the COVID-19, I sort of see it as another sort of way whereby a lot of people are being pushed into the space of having no choice but to really have a look inwards, okay? So the other thing about spiritual awakenings, it's tough, man. It's like like a big slap in the face, because all it does is it challenges, and not only challenges but wins the battle of everything you thought you knew, and now you have to relearn everything from a totally different standpoint, which is great, which is wonderful, but not in the moment, because you know it all. Right? You think you know it all. And then this happens. So I'm speaking now as if I know it all, but please believe me, I don't. I really don't. Like, I'm learning as well. And I don't, I'm trying to really find ways to manage both what I've learned and still try and be open to question those belief systems which I now hold dear, but not hold them too much that becomes an attachment, and still be open enough to consider that my belief systems might also be incorrect. Okay, so it's about having a certain understanding of what you believe now, okay, after all the spiritual awakening, and you've had to reclaim, not even reclaim because it's not an ownership, but establish who you are and understand that actually anything is possible, and you can just be you and just learn and just be open to every single infinite possibility you couldn't even imagine, right? You've still got to, at this stage, be like, okay, so I've got to open my mind, right? Because there's so much information out there, they're calling. There's so much information out there. And on the other side, you still want to sort of hold on to the wisdom and the experiences you've learned because they brought you where you are. So it's a very, very valuable stuff without being too attached to it. Obviously, everything comes down to here and now, right now, in this present moment. That's all there is, ever. Ever, 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 ever. Eckhart Tolle, watch him, read him. He's amazing. But what I'm trying to get at is that it's a very difficult process if you find that you are struggling at the moment, and lots of people are struggling at a very, very deep level, and you've got to love the struggle. You got to love it because it's teaching you something, okay? And you will get through it. You will get out of it wiser, okay? Even to the degree of, you know, loved ones still suffering. It's you learn as you go, and as you learn, you're able to help each other through this, okay? You're able to start to see how interconnected everything is, and how interconnected every atom is, you know. There's a scientist, I'll try and put a link or something, but there's a scientist who won a prize for identifying the fact that consciousness exists in every single atom, everything, right? So even the things that you have, everything is interconnectedness. But I think I'm just chatting too much because this is also going to take a long time to upload. Anyway, so I might do a more sort of structured sort of chat on spiritual awakenings. Ultimately, they're very good. It's wonderful in the end, you know. But if you feel like you are kind of going through anything like this, comment, and maybe I can sort of gear a session like specifically to do with that. With regards to channeling, the channeling for me, I mean, a sort of a type mentor last year, she sort of was picking up on the fact that I probably am a channeler, but only because of the sensation I was feeling. Get the, you know, when I was doing tarot, I was getting the constricted throat thing. I was like, what's that? And she was saying, oh, I think this is it, because, you know, she's been around in that sort of spiritual kind of vibe for many years, and she knew other channelers who had the same sort of symptom, I suppose. So with the channeling, that's a sort of a separate side, but I've learning a lot through that, and of course what it does, it opens my mind even more. So perhaps what I can do at some point is explain what's kind of happening on an invisible level, you know, and maybe even try and do a channeling session. Usually it's all about me because I'm still learning, so I can do that with the disclaimer that actually if it's all just about me, then I apologize. Although hopefully I did have my sister ask a few questions on a few occasions, and there was a message for humanity, but we're not going to go there just yet. So basically that's me, and that's kind of what I'm doing. So yeah, I do tarot, and I do my own sort of channeling, which is such a big thing that I'm really interested at the moment. But ultimately everything that I do is in some sort of way to try and help people heal from things that are really, really keeping them stuck or on a loop, you know, that vicious cycle that you can't get out of because you keep going back to old patterns and stuff like that. So obviously with spiritual awakenings and things like that, you end up having to rehabilitate your mindset and your emotions and sort of really clock in. And it's, you know, it is a discipline as well. It's an exciting discipline, but it is sort of a discipline because you find that if you stop paying attention for a long period of time, you do fall under the old habits. And then, but the more you do it, the more you kind of can recognize within yourself, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And the beauty